My friends, good evening. The digital euro, the euro in crypto form, was announced today. It will arrive in October. For many months now, a lot of listeners have contacted me to ask, what is this? What should we expect? All that. So it's an extremely sinister move. I'm not hiding it from you. But if I absolutely have to give you some good news, I would say that we used to live in fear of seeing it happen. And now we'll live in hope of seeing it collapse one day. So we've traded fear for hope. And you see, well, something bad unfortunately brings something good. Now it's done, there you go. We were afraid. We're not afraid anymore. Really? This move is extremely sinister. Why? Maybe I'll tell you something. Let's zoom out a little from the euro. We'll come back to it later. If you look at our freedom today in Europe in general, our freedom is following a path that's the opposite of technological development. That means the more technology makes something possible. Control, a freedom-killing law, bans, levies, taxes. What's happening? Well, we're going to get them. It's going to happen. I'll just give you an example, maybe to clarify. In London, there's what's called the congestion charge zone, which is the area, if you will, where cars have to pay when they enter this zone. They have to pay. It started in the heart of London. It keeps increasing until one day it will consume the whole country and eventually the entire planet. Where people, it's called the congestion tax. And when people are in a traffic jam in the UK, well, you don't even need a traffic jam, You can have empty roads, but you still pay. You enter the zone, you pay. You see how it is? So it started in 2003. It's the largest zone of its kind in the world. Actually, the thing is, it was created in 2003. But why in 2003? Because in 2003, remember, it was the dot-com bubble. It was technology, networks. We were starting to have the first cameras that could identify license plates, send them to servers, automate letters, and so on. So as soon as technology made this possible, well, it was deployed. Otherwise, what would have had to be done? Otherwise, without technology, what would have had to be done? Well, they would have had to send agents with a bag around London, knock on the windows of cars stuck in traffic jams and say, yes, I work for the London City Hall. Here is my badge. We want a time fee because you are here, because you exist. That's it. If you hadn't come, if you hadn't been born, right? We wouldn't be here. We wouldn't be having this conversation. So you're undesirable. You pay. Notice, by the way, that this is not a value-creating economy because it's an economy of predation, an economy of taking, of spoliation. I take. You don't create value by taking. No new service has been created. Simply, for example, I often see examples here of a supermarket, and then suddenly he makes his parking, which was free. He will give it to a company that will suddenly start charging people who park there. We haven't provided any new services. We haven't created any new services. We've simply created a charge. That's all. And we are more and more in a fee-based economy, in a fine-based economy, in a behavioral tax economy. Here's the state. You drink a sugary beverage and they take money from it. It's all about collecting money. And so we are in a society with people, and on our backs, right, there are thousands and thousands of fees, and every week new ones come in. So let's get back to our story. You can see that, for example, with this congestion tax in London, it wouldn't have been possible before cameras, electronics, the internet and networks were able to create such a system. Afterwards, it was created, it only increased, right, and expanded. So it even inspired others abroad. So why is this bad news? It's bad news because there's a rule that, so to speak, never fails. Technology only moves forward. Today, it's 2025 as I'm speaking right now. We can easily imagine that within 5 years, by 2030, we'll probably have processors that are faster than the ones we have today. We'll have faster networks, we'll have AI that's maybe more complete, more intelligent, quote unquote, and we'll have new technologies. By 2030, we might be gone, right? That's something else entirely. That's, right? Maybe there will be rocks, stones. It'll be an almost lunar environment with stones and land that will smoke for eternity, right? That's something else. Well, anyway, and we will be smoldering in hell, right? That's another vision. It's a pessimistic vision. He has an optimistic vision. The optimistic vision is that we have more technology, but inevitably less freedom because that's good. We haven't created on a civilizational level, and I'm not just talking about the news, I'm talking about something deeper. On a civilizational level, we haven't created a safeguard. For example, if I were running a country, I would have created a constitutional safeguard written in stone by saying that this nation, the state of this nation, or the administration, or the state, or the private sector, or others, does not have the right to use new technologies against humans. To control them, to process them, to tax them, we can't. Sinon, otherwise, my friends, technology multiplies by 100, our freedom is divided by 100. Until the moment when we find ourselves, I assure you, if one day we invent some kind of X-ray, which is capable without hurting people or killing them or anything else, which is capable of scanning through the walls of houses, right, in an efficient, fast, inexpensive way and all that. Because I think it exists as a prototype, but it's not, let's say, something that has economic viability. I can assure you that within 6 months, we will have trucks with scanners that will scan houses in search of terrorists or in search of, you know what I mean, terrorists, in quotation marks, right? In the United Kingdom, there are laws that were passed after the terrorist attacks because they took advantage of the emotion caused by them. People were burying their dead, the whole nation in shock, flowers on the ground, on the walls, you know what I mean. And at some point they say, we're making laws so that this never happens again. People, literally overwhelmed by the situation, accept these laws that at any other time would have been unimaginable. We accept laws and say they're emergency laws for an exceptional situation. And a few years later, we realize that hundreds of thousands are using these laws to search. Who took out their trash on the wrong day? Who overfilled their trash can? Who put a bag of siding next to a full trash can, right? We have, you see, what I mean is if I go even deeper, I would say that's it. It's the story of Esav repeating itself. Esav, he sold his birthright. You know, back in the day, when you were the eldest, it gave you rights. It came with rights as the eldest in a family. You were right next to the patriarch, at his right hand. Well, he came back from hunting, he was tired, and he wanted something to eat. His brother said to him, I have some soup, but listen, I'll give you some soup, but you give me your birthright in exchange for a bowl of soup. And Esau said, of course, give me the soup, that's it. My birthright is yours. So here it's a story, it's a biblical story, if you want, that we use when we want to talk about someone, something, a nation, a person, a civilization that gives away something extremely important for next to nothing. So we take advantage of the blood of innocents, right? Of people who have been killed. Like those children killed at a music concert and so on. And what do? We pass laws that we exploit the blood of these innocents so that we can know who overfilled their trash can, right? That way we can contact them and collect a fee. This way we can send a letter with a fee and say payment isn't required. That's all. That means everything. All the feelings, all the situations, all the relationships are reduced to market value, how much it costs. That's it. Very peculiar, isn't it? So now we had to go through this because we need to have this background. You shouldn't just watch the news, just the news. You have to go back. We'll need to look back even to biblical elements to fully understand everything. Almost everything can be understood this way. In fact, the euro, this digital euro, is a programmable euro. That means it knows who is spending it. It knows it's you. You might say your bank card proves it's you, but it's actually worse than that. Your bank card is like money. Of course, your bank card shows it's you. It's just so they can track the total amount of your spending and what's in your shopping cart, for example. And to transfer that money to the supermarket in exchange for payment. That's all. There's nothing else. The digital euro is different. For example, it can be set to have an expiration date. If you have a 20 euro bill, it doesn't have an expiration date. Whether it's in your pocket or in your bank account, it doesn't have a specific expiration date. But on the other hand, you can be paid in digital euros with an expiration date. I'm giving it to you. If in 3 months you still have it, it will die. It will expire. You can't save. Today, what we need to do is mobilize savings. We can also turn your savings into digital money with an expiration date. We say in a year, your savings, if you don't spend them to keep the economy running, right? By the way, we're talking here on another occasion about savings, which is being targeted. So at that point, what can happen is that this money expires. You'll tell me, just between us, that most people don't care at all. Because anyway, today, since we're attacking all classes, especially the middle classes and those below the average who are struggling, well, the difference today is 5 days. The class that's struggling, they're overdrawn by the 5th of the month. The middle class is overdrawn by the 10th of the month. That's it. And so if you give them euros and tell them it expires in 3 months, they say, honestly, it could expire in 2 weeks. It wouldn't change anything in my life. I would have spent it in 48 hours anyway. So you see, that's it. I explained why people are poor. I explained this in a video about Marxism on my Q&A channel. I invite you to find it. I might put it in the description for you. You'll see why. People are poor because of programming. People are programmed to be poor. They're not poor by accident. There is an economic programming that makes them destined to be poor. Money only makes a fleeting appearance in their financial equation. It appears as a salary and disappears immediately as rent, food, gas, insurance, electricity bill, gas bill, glasses, doctor, dentist, shoes. And it's done on purpose. It's not by chance. Our society is not built on chance. It's built on planning, intention, a scheme, and it's done on purpose. So if we watch the video, it will explain everything. So as I was saying, it can also be used for taxation or a quota system. Individualized quota. For example, we can say there's a climate emergency. We're going to forbid you from buying more than 1 kilo of meat per year. So you're going to buy a bit of meat at the beginning of January. You're going to buy a bit of meat at the end of January. You get to February. You're going to buy some meat. The man ahead of you in the supermarket is fine. The cashier tells you, no, that's not going through. We can't cash it. There's no way to cash it. The register says quota exceeded, quota reached. It can also compare your quota to something else. It can compare, for example, to your trips, your gas expenses, or other expenses you've made to create individualized quotas or individualized taxation. For example, you might find a steak for sale or a bottle of milk or something else, and it will be written. There you go. It costs, for example, €2 plus a variable tax. Variable individual tax. It's only a matter of time before they make it. They're not building the tool for no reason. Okay, it's just not fair, guys. They're spending billions to create a programmable euro just for the fun of knowing it exists. I assure you, I'll tell you, it's coming. It's not possible. They're not creating a tool just like that, you know? It's like you're telling me they're building a bridge in the middle of nowhere and there's no road connected to it. Well, that's obvious. That's taxpayers' money. They're building. It happens. There are pictures of bridges that were built and then forgotten. But what I'm trying to tell you is that you'll see there will be prices, there you go, subject to quotas plus a variable individual tax. That means you arrive, bam, it costs €2. So the first one costs €2. The second one will cost €2.50. The third one maybe 3. And then after 10 bottles of milk, you know, it's the month of, I don't know, you're at the end of February. After 10 bottles of milk, then it's €50 per bottle. You know, I mean, you keep going, you stop. You know, I mean, that's it. There comes a point. When they say, if you take this one, it's made from cockroach mush or something similar. And this one, well, it costs €5. It's cheaper, you see. And it's not subject to a variable individual tax. It's 0. That's it. So programming money is precisely intended to create more and more state control over individuals. So should I go into that or not? No. How many videos? 15 minutes. No, I'll stop here. Because if I get into that to explain what we're living through under neoliberalism, and all of this, what we're living through, it's a horror. It's an atrocity, my friends. It's an atrocity. In short, let me tell you. People define, if you look at some economists, they define neoliberalism. When we say neoliberalism, right? When we say neo, it's not neo as in something new, right? Like the Airbus Neo. Well, it's the Airbus A320neo. It's an Airbus A320 that has been renovated. Basically a new edition, right? A new version. It's like version 2.0, as we would say. So, neo. If we say neoliberalism, it's new liberalism. What is the old liberalism? The old liberalism is the liberalism of Adam Smith and David Ricardo and other economists of that caliber. What are these people talking about? What is the main thesis of liberalism that is taken up by neoliberalism? The main thesis of neoliberalism or liberalism is that the market is perfectible. The law of the market is perfection, that we should let the market operate without state regulation. And that whatever the market does will be true. The market is always right, as they say. You see, and so this will create balance, happiness, and the maximum value for society, which is not true. It doesn't hold up in reality. What I'm telling you here is not true. That is, once we let go, once we deregulate, we immediately get to predation. We get to dog eat dog. Because at that point, we end up with underpaid people, people who work 7 days a week. We end up with children walking inside chimneys to scrape the inside, just like it happened during the Victorian era in the United Kingdom. We end up with slavery. We end up with the plundering of nations. We end up. So, I mean, that's the perfection of liberalism. That's it. It's absolute predation. They try to convince us they're nice and would never do that, but that's false. They do it whenever they get the chance, and they still do it now. Donc, liberalism or neoliberalism wants less and less state, wants to destroy the state. But be careful, let's stop there. Because some people, look, you know me, I have tendencies. I'm a bit of an anarchist. What does that mean? It means an anarchist. It's just that I don't like the state. I distrust the state, and I never thought the state acts in my interest. So when I say anarchy, it's not chaos. An anarchist isn't someone who wants chaos and fire and Mad Max. No, that's not it. It's just that simple. I don't believe in the state. Maybe I'm a little bit close to Frederick Engels or Karl Marx, who says that the state is a committee to manage the affairs of the ruling classes. That's all. So the state isn't there to serve me. Me, the state, only needs me on 2 occasions. It needs me when I have to pay money for taxes, which it will do whatever it wants with. It will spend it on meals, on taxi fares, taxis. It will give it to foreign countries and terrorist groups. The United Kingdom gave the Syrian terrorist group HTS, which is the former Islamist Al-Qaeda, £50 million from my taxes. Okay, so, for example, we have a British couple. They left with a 3-year-old girl, an adorable little girl. She had a health issue, a sudden health problem that appeared during the vacation. She is in the hospital, stranded in a distant foreign country. She has no one to help her. Her health insurance won't cover her. And then the government services say yes, but we're not supposed to help people. If you go on vacation, we don't have a budget. You have budgets. You have budgets to hand out here and there. You have budgets for research on the air gene in the circuit, in the electricity companies in Africa, or you have millions to give to terrorist groups, etc. Around the world, that's not a problem. On the other hand, a citizen who is dying in a foreign hospital, no, you wash your hands of that. So you see what I mean? The government isn't there to serve you. The government isn't there to serve me. The government is there to manage the affairs of the ruling classes. It only needs you when you give it money. When it takes money from you, that's when it needs you. And then it needs you when it wants to take your blood, when you have to go die for the ruling classes, when they start a war and want to get richer. Every war, don't just count wars by the millions of deaths. Don't count like that, because that's a false count. Count wars by deaths, but also by money. How many billionaires have they created? It's systematic. Every war creates billionaires. And that's the real reason for war. And then you, as someone who's dominated, if you want, they'll give you a speech. They'll tell you that you're going to die for your country. They'll give you a flag. They'll give you a medal made in China, all that. And then if you die, they'll give a certificate to your family, all that. So your family, they're going to give up an 18 or 20-year-old child. They'll give you their best. And then they'll end up with a photo on the mantelpiece, right? For their whole life, with your mother crying and everything. That's it. That's the state working for the ruling classes. And if you're dominated, they give you this speech. In the United Kingdom, you put up a flag. I'm not talking about the credit flag, but the British flag. You put a British flag in your window and the police come. Yet when they start a war, suddenly the British flag, yes, we're going to die for that flag. That's not right. No, that's not right. We're not allowed to put it in the window. When we have to die to make you richer, suddenly the flag's virtues matter to you. It's the same in France. You'll see that if they ever want a war, suddenly patriotic feeling will become something positive. It won't be the nauseating stench of dark times anymore. Isn't that right? So if you want, I'm saying the same thing as Atali, but I don't arrive at that same point by the same path. Let me tell you something. Philosophically, when you reach the same conclusion by different paths, it means the chance or probability that this conclusion is true is very high. Because that's how it is. All roads lead to Rome, and all roads lead to the truth. When something is true, there are different ways to reach it. I'm saying the same thing as Atali, yet I don't have the same principle as him. I'm not saying it from the same point of view as him. He says you don't have a nation. You don't have a nation. There are no countries. It's over. Him, I imagine, I'm not in his head, but he's happy about it. He's happy that there's no nation, that you don't have a nation, except the day you die for the nation. Suddenly they say, look, you have a nation. Well, now you take this Swiss, you're going to get yourself killed. Okay, we're getting to the digital euro, all that. We're getting there. Things are complicated. That's what I'm saying. Don't. So I come in from another angle. You don't have a nation. There is no nation. You don't have one. You say, yes, I'm French. If you want, if you tell me I'm French, I'm not going to contradict you. I'm not going to upset you. I'm not going to say yes, no. But deep down inside, you don't have a country. They took your country from you a long time ago. You and the French understand. When the British came, it was over. They took it from you. Because don't tell me that just because you pay taxes, you're French. Especially don't come and tell me that. Otherwise, I can tell you about a girl the other day who was selling her pictures on a famous website. There's a guy who sends her money. He sent her 4.7 million euros, I assure you. Regularly, like 10,000 euros every 30 seconds, just so she says hello to him. After repeatedly sending 10,000 euros, she eventually greeted him. He wants to call her his girlfriend, to say she's his girl, but he can't. He can't say that, but he can't. It's crazy. His mother is there. She travels, lives her life, and he gives her money. But giving money doesn't mean she's his girl. Don't go telling me this is your country because your son got shot for this country, and you're working yourself to the bone at 80, fixing your glasses with wire, wearing a jacket with a broken zipper and giving money to this country, then claiming it's yours. I hope we're not there yet. We're not at that level. Just because you pay for fancy shoes and club fees and taxi fares, that doesn't make it your country. You don't have a country anymore. They've taken it from you. That's what I'm telling you. You don't have a country anymore. All right, the day you get that into your head, you don't have to believe me yet. This is your first time hearing this. You'll probably say it's a bit harsh. Yes, the first time does seem harsh, I know. But it feels less harsh the second and third times, I can tell you when you meditate on it. Take some time to meditate on it and you'll see. It will become clear. You don't have a country. You don't have one. You took it. Okay, that's why the struggle is international. That's why I'm fighting. Right now, I'm not French. I'm fighting with you. Why? Well, yes, that's part of globalism. What do you want? You don't have a country. I don't have a country. We have the same problems. We have the same enemies. We're fighting together. That's the only thing that can save us. That's what can save us, really. And if we start relying on the idea of, yeah, I'm a nationalist, well, what am I a nationalist of? Of which nation? Pay. Okay, pay. And that's it. So I was saying, liberalism. Let's get back to liberalism. So for me, in a way, if I look at it from my anarchist/revolutionary perspective, in a way, I'm very happy that the state is taking a hit. I'm very happy when there are actions that destroy the state. I can even tell you something. I'll even admit something to you. I'm even in favor of corruption. This may surprise you, but I support it. You're going to say, Aldo, that's not possible. You're exaggerating. I'm not corrupt and don't believe in corruption. But I'll just give you an example. You don't have to answer me. Just answer for yourself. Keep it in your head, okay? You're answering for yourself. Okay, let's see if we're on the same page. You're in a country where people like you are being hunted. They've given the order that all people like you must be arrested now, immediately. You put your family in a car, You load your luggage. It's dark out like this. New Year's night. You're driving on a country road. The GPS told you there's no one around. Normally, there's no traffic. And suddenly, there's a roadblock. There are people dressed in leather with a big sign. Stop. And then they have a lantern. That's it. There's a sign. You can't speed up. There's the field. There's a ditch on each side. They're armed. There's a spike strip across the road with metal spikes like this, so you can't rush through. You can't go around them either. So what do? You stop. You pull up alongside them. You roll down the window. Good evening, officer. Can I see your license and registration, please? This isn't about a €135 fine. It's about much more serious matters. The question I'm asking, you can keep the answer to yourself or share it in the comments. Would you rather run into someone who's corrupt, or would you rather run into someone who's overzealous and just follows orders? That's it. Corruption weakens state authority. Corruption throws sand into the gears of the state system because the state gives orders. And what do? We pay to escape those orders. So what can I do? Well, if I have money, actually, I don't even have any money. You see, if they stop me tonight, I have nothing really. I don't even have anything to bribe them with, you understand? So in practice, right? In practice, that's how it goes. If you run into an overzealous one, he'll tell you, okay, turn off the engine, put the keys on the dashboard, get out. How many of you are in there? All of you, get out. You're screwed. It's over. That one, he'll carry out the orders of the state, the committee that manages the orders, that manages the life of the ruling class. You're one of the dominated, you follow the orders. The ruling class, they don't follow them. I hope you've noticed that. You've noticed that the state always cracks down on against the dominated. Never against the dominant ones, you see. Or you have another option. Good evening, officer. Yes, so here we go. I'll give it to you. So, I know times are tough. You've been here a long time. It's cold. They left you out here. Damn, that's not right. All right, listen, I'll give you this. Right, look, here, the tough times. That, it seems, isn't enough, all of this. We're exposing everything, I understand, officer. There you go. He's making money. And he says, this is an order. No, there you go. You can go ahead, move along. Thank you. Goodbye. You're leaving. What do you prefer? See what I mean? I'm happy with anything that limits state authority. By the way, why would someone like me on the far left of the spectrum, and I mean the real left, not the gender left, the class left, which doesn't exist anymore, by the way, it's over. That's it. There are just a few of us left. Why am I happy, for example, when someone like Elon Musk comes into a government administration and fires everyone? In your opinion, yes, that's it. It's the anarchist in me enjoying it. Even though I'm against Elon Musk when he makes his employees work 70 hours a week. You see, but when he does something that aligns with my views, he's destroying, undermining the foundations of the state. Well, in a way, I'm happy. Well, let him do it. Yeah, it's great. We're going to have a laugh. We're going to buy some popcorn. That's it. What do you want? What do you want? A state administration that's managing the affairs of the ruling classes at the expense of the dominated. And then suddenly he comes across someone worse than them. He comes across a scumbag worse than them. Only those people can handle them. Only someone like him, as unscrupulous as Elon Musk, can deal with them. Go ahead. Go ahead, do it. Go ahead. You get my point. That's the difference. We couldn't do it. We were mistreated by these administrations. We received incomprehensible letters. We received unjust decisions, unfair decisions from these people. And suddenly he comes across someone worse than them. Okay, well, I'll buy the popcorn. Am I supposed to defend you or what? You see what I mean? Now be careful. If we go further, there's something important. Liberalism wants to break the authority of the state to create. A private system aims to privatize everything. Everything must become private. You see, for example, NASA. Today we have SpaceX. Everything is becoming private. We used to have a lot of things that used to be the prerogative of the state. The state, a certain number of years ago, had airlines. It doesn't have them anymore. It had trains. It doesn't have them anymore. It had everything. Sometimes it kept a small share, but in general, it privatized everything. It had telecommunications. It privatized them. Everything has been privatized for better or for worse. Here in the United Kingdom, we've even privatized electricity, water, garbage collection, everything. We're in a country as a service, which is why we don't feel like ourselves anymore. We don't feel like ourselves anymore. There's no one who really feels like they're from here. It's like a country as a service, but the services are poor and costly. Eventually, you start sounding like a Tali or using the hotel rule. If I think of this country as a hotel, it's overpriced for what it offers. If I compare the quality of the rooms to the price, it makes no sense. And I also compare it to the number of stars you have on Booking. So imagine, it's like you have 2 stars on Booking, you have crappy rooms, and you demand a high price. I'm talking exactly like a Tali, but on the other hand, I'm getting there from a different angle. And I don't share the same ideology as him at all. Do you get it? So the liberal system wants to destroy the state. But be careful, you shouldn't take a revolutionary stance by saying, well, that's good, that's great. Because in truth, that's not what he's doing. In truth, he's going to split the authority of the state in 2. There won't be a state for the dominated classes. Finally, the dominant classes. For the dominant classes, for the forces of money and all that, there is no state. He gives them total and absolute freedom. You rush off in a hurry to tweet. You see what I mean? Yeah, that's it. It means, and that's what we're seeing. That's what we're seeing more and more in France, in the United Kingdom, in Germany, in Romania, everywhere. We're seeing this. Our state is increasingly restricting our freedoms. We have a state that comes into our lives, that wants to micromanage our lives. Okay, micromanage our lives. Every little detail of our lives is micromanaged. The digital euro falls into this category. More and more government in your life, more and more cameras, more and more laws, more and more behavioral controls, more and more restrictions. You won't be able to breathe. You won't be able to move a finger without the state being on you. So you'll be living in a gang where the state is constantly present. The ruling classes, though, will live in a completely anarchic system. That means there's no state at all. Because what we've done is we've split the state in 2. And we've actually reinforced what Karl Marx and Engels were saying. We're going to push this system to its ultimate conclusion, where what we're going to do is the state, this time in the most brutal way ever seen, is going to crush the dominated classes. It's going to crush them under freedom-killing laws, under controls. I mean, even their money, even the fruit of their labor will now be programmable, manageable, individual quotas, individual taxes, restrictions, expiration, all of that. While at the same time, it will serve the ruling classes, the forces of money. You see, that was unimaginable before because the necessary technology didn't exist. The technology wasn't there, and there was something else. There was still class consciousness. There was still revolutionary consciousness among the people. Just look at Mr. Ceausescu and his wife Elena, how they ended up. All right, that wasn't so long ago. Ceausescu, that's when? We're talking about the 1980s. Late 80s, early 90s. I'm just giving you a rough estimate. See how he ended up? Look at what's happening today. Today, Romanians have their elections cancelled. The winning candidate gets arrested. Then he's banned from running in other elections. And what do? They go out and march. If they get really worked up, they'll grab a pot and spoon. They really make some noise, they can go back home. It's over. We destroyed the revolutionary spirit. We crushed the people. We created multiple conflicts. We split society into billions of individuals, into billions. I say billions. You're going to tell me, but how do you tell me that society is made up of billions of individuals, and you tell me you're going to split it into billions? Isn't there a problem with your calculation? No, your calculation is fine. They're using their current system, but I'd move to another antidote. I'll stop here. With the system they're using, I can take 10 people and tell you there are 20 groups in there. You might ask how, since I could just make each person a group, but that's not what I mean. I assign multiple identities to each person. It doesn't have transactionality. I give several identities. I give each person several identities so that each person can identify with several groups. That means each person can actually represent 5 or 6 groups. So in reality, with 10 people, I can form 60 groups for you. Like in a society of 60 million inhabitants, I can easily create 1 billion groups for you. A completely fragmented, divided society. And add to that individualism. Add to that individualism. Every man for himself. I don't care about others. It's me. That's it. And from there, you take away national consciousness. You take away their national cohesion. You create divides. And from there, you can enslave them. And then no one will move any further, you know? You see what I mean? That's the long answer. You know, I could have given you the short answer, you know, for the digital euro and all that. I could have given you the short answer. That's the long answer. It's a more in-depth answer, you see? And still, I'm holding back. We're at 36 minutes now. I'm holding back. I could have done more, but there you go. You got it. You got the idea. You know, it's an idea. I invite you to check out my channel. Check them out, the videos I've made recently. The Q&A channel, aldosterone Q&A. I made a series of videos on how people are programmed to be poor. I made a series of videos on Marxism. Go watch them. It's very important. Go watch them. Listen to them. There you go, my friends. By the way, I've started consulting. I'll give you the link. I stopped last August saying I'd start again in 2 or 3 weeks. It took me 6 months to get back to my schedule. Crazy. I've opened up for now because I'm a bit busy. I'll close it again when I'm overwhelmed. But if you want one-on-one consulting, check the calendar in the pinned comment. I'll stop here. Thanks for listening, my friends. And then I'll see you in the next video. Bye.